right.
Okay. Good afternoon. Today is March 9th, 2004, and we're conducting an interview for the HistoryMakers. And I'd like you to state your name. Your name.
Now, you know what?
I want you to say your name.
Oh, my name, Veselee Jackson.
And can you spell that for
Veselee
us?
Scott Jackson.
Veselee.
V-E-S-E-L-E-E. S-C-O-T-T Scott, J-A-C-K-S-O-N, Jackson.
Okay. And can you tell us your date and place of birth?
Okay.
Your date and place of birth.
I was the date, August the 2nd, 1935. And I was born in Perry County, and I've been here ever since.
Okay. And your occupation?
A home wife all the time.
And your educational background?
Oh, from the 8th. I just didn't go much, from the 8th grade.
You went to 8th grade?
So, yeah.
What school was that?
That was Marion Baptist Academy. Sure was.
Here in Alabama? In Alabama?
In Marion?
Okay,
Sure was. Perry County.
in Perry County. Okay. We'd like to hear from you. What was life like for African Americans before the Civil Rights Movement?
Lord, before. It was sad. It was hard. Well, we lived on a farm, and we farmed all the time. And we worked every day, but we worked from Monday through Friday, picking cotton, hoeing, doing everything. And then when Saturday come, you know, it was hard then because we had to do everything inside, everything for the family inside. And so we had to tend to the children. On a Saturday, we had to do all that, wash, iron, clean up, and everything. And so, and on Monday morning, you right back doing the same thing, right back. We was on plantation, you know.
So the farming, what kind of farming did you do?
Everything. From cotton, corn, peas, everything on the farm. Cucumbers.
And what made it so hard?
Hmm?
What made it so hard? What made it so hard?
It was hard because you had to you just had to work so hard, and then you get nothing for it, you know. You just go work, and then end of the week, you get paid, you get $2 a day. You work all day from 6 to 6, and that was hard. From 6 to 6, and then you had your babies to see after when you get home from work, from the field. You had to see to your babies, and you had to you know, see to the house and everything. And then in the morning, you wake back up, you're doing the same thing every day of the week. And that was hard. That was hard. And then you get nothing for it. You wouldn't get nothing then, you know. $2 a day. It went a long way, but it was hard because you had to take that and get whatever you had to get, you know. And that before time, and it was, and you had to stop. The bell rang for 12 o'clock. You had to be there at 6. The bell rang at 12, and then you had to be back at 1. We had a hard time. We had a hard time. Sure did.
Were you forced to do things against your will before civil rights legislation? Were there things that you were forced to do that you didn't want to do?
Did we have to do it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Like
we
what?
We had to do that because we didn't have no other choice.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you was my mother, she didn't have a husband at the time when I was a child. But after I got married and we moved on plantation too, on another one, and so It was hard. You don't have no other choice. I mean, you didn't have the mind to think and say, I'm getting out of it, you know, until down through the years. And when you did think to get out, you know, say, well, I have enough of this, you know.
When was that? When did you feel that you had enough? When did you feel that you had enough?
When did, oh, it was about in this, and it was 58, 60, I left 63, right? Yeah, my baby was born in 63, and I left, he was 2 years old when I left. And we moved where I am right now. We left, sure did. That was in 62, because he was born in 63. And so we moved in 65. He was 2 years old. Sure was.
Do you remember the very first time that you had a personal experience with racism? Do you remember that?
Oh, yes, honey. When I was a child, a small child. And my grandmother, I was living with my grandmother at the time. And I would go, my mother had got married. And so I would go to my grandmother's house. And my grandmother was living on plantation too. And the people's home they was living on, place they were living on, we always had to go right through their yard to go to my grandmother's house. And so it was 4 girls of them. They was beautiful. And was 2 boys. And I used to ask my mother, I used to ask her all the time, we go to the field and work every day. They never go to the field. They sit up on the porch. They used to file their nails and they'd be looking so cute. And I had an auntie who was washing and ironing for them at that time, you know. And they would have them looking so beautiful. And I said, why they don't never have to work and they always look so cute? I said, we have to go to work every day and we never have nothing. And she said, she could never give me an answer. She said, you'll learn better. But she could never say why they didn't never work. And I all I got, I was about 9. And all I got, I said, well, we're working for them. That's why they don't have to work.
How did that make you feel? How did that make you feel?
Bad. I used to get so angry. But after I got Christ in my life, I'm about 12 years old. And when Christ came in my life, when I got religion, I was about 12 years old. And I began to love then, and I knew better. But still, it was hard, because we had to go to the field every day and work all day. And don't care how long you work, you never get nothing, you know. It'd be the same thing. You'll never get no more. Don't care how hard you work, you never get no more. They never worked and got everything. So I used to ask my mama all the time about it. Sure did.
When did you go to school?
Wait, but do you know? Do you know when we went to school? She'll say, we went, that's why I stopped school so early, because we never have the things we needed to go to school, you know? And so that's why I stopped school so early, to try to help her. We would go 2 days, or 3 days out of a week or something like that. Then we had to go back to field. We had to do something, you know, get out there and do something. Regardless of winter or summer, you had to do something. Always was something to do. Pick up acorns, just everything. But share corn. In the wintertime, to go share corn all day. So we had a hard time.
Did the whole family work together like that?
Yeah, the whole family. That's right, the whole family. I had to do something all the time, you know. If they wasn't in the summertime, when it's hot, they's in the field, and then when it get cold, they on the tractor, shelling corn, pulling corn, picking up acorns. So we had it until Christmas. You had to do that till Christmas.
What happened after Christmas?
Sure did. And after Christmas, well, you know, after Christmas they kind of the men would go do all the work then until about March, and then you back out then, getting ready to plant corn, cotton, getting ready for the field.
Okay. What are your most memorable encounters with racists and racism? More stories that you had. You talked about, you saw that you worked all the time and you looked and you saw other people didn't have to work.
Yeah.
But what other things do you remember about racism?
Racism. Well, it always have been. But in our family, we never, you know, just been mean, just down, you know, right, beat you up or nothing like that. But for us racists, we always had it. It was hard, cause you go to places. If you went up in a little town where we lived, go downtown where you couldn't go to. You had this same place you drink water. You couldn't use the bathroom. They had an outside bathroom in Marion, so you had to go around behind the city hall to use the bathroom. Just like since '60, you could go to the courthouse and use the bathroom, you know. But then you couldn't go in the courthouse unless you was paying a bill. You couldn't go in the city hall. You had to go neat around on the back. And you had a place you drank, and in the store, it was a fountain, Elmo. We had an Elmo, and you go in there, you had to drink water. At the same place, you had to stand there and drink water. You couldn't drink over on the other side. And it just black and white. Everything black and white, regardless of what it was. Before '65.
Okay. We're going to stop right there. Okay.
It's so sad.
Can you share with us more about the plantation, life on the plantation?
Life on the plantation.
Mm-hmm.
We had to, at least I couldn't go to school. No, I had a lot of brothers and sisters up under me, younger than I was, so I had to stop because we didn't have the food, we didn't have lunch or nothing to take to school, you know. No lunches. So we had to get up and get them dressed and go to school. And so you didn't have anything, you had a pair of dollar shoes, they gone, you was through. You didn't have anything else. You couldn't get now another pair. So there were you were at home until she could get another $1, get you a pair of shoes, 50 cents, a pair of socks or something to wear to school. And then
Did that make it hard for you to stay in school, or?
Extra hard to stay in school. Because I didn't have nothing to go to school with. When the clothes, you had 2 pieces where you wash that out tonight, you wear that the next day. And then if you have a pair of socks, you had to wash that pair out tonight and wear it the next day. And so if you didn't get to wash that, you didn't have nothing to wear to school. You had to stay home. And then you get up in the morning time, you didn't have nothing to fix for lunch to go to school. So that you didn't have, and then the rest of them at home. If you had ate something, then the rest of them at home didn't have nothing to eat. So
Were there days that you went hungry?
the days we went hungry was heap of days, honey. We went hungry. It wasn't nothing to eat. We went out, we used to go out and to the trees. I always tell my children, the Lord, we didn't have nothing to eat, but the Lord always gave us something off the trees, you know. We'd go out on the trees, find hickories, pecans, or something to crack, you know, to eat. And we could find corn, we could, sweet potatoes. We had sweet potatoes, but we could put them in the fire and roast them.
Was that one of your favorite things to have? The sweet potatoes?
Yeah, that was my favorite, because that's the best that was the best something you could eat. When you didn't have nothing, you know. You roast them in the fire, we used to roast them. pull the ashes back, then lay the potatoes in, put the ashes back on the potato. Then we sit there until they get done. And then if we don't bake them, we'll boil them. Put them in a bowl and put them on, set them on the fire and boil them. So it was rough. And then you didn't have nothing else. You didn't have no help from nobody else, you know. Nobody else could come in and give you something because nobody else didn't have nothing.
The other families that were
Yeah.
farming too?
That's right. They couldn't help us because they didn't have nothing to help themselves. You know, they had to have a hard time too, right along with us.
How many brothers and sisters did you have?
It was the 8 of us.
It's 8 of you?
8 of us.
And you're close to one of the oldest?
That's right.
Are you
And
the
one-
oldest girl?
No, the oldest girl, older than I am.
Okay.
Sure was. But still, she was home too. She had to stop and come home to help try to. She stopped so I could go a few days. And then I had to go a few days and stop so the rest of them could go a few days. So,
Were there people who were white that did wrong things to you?
oh yeah, honey. Because when we go to field and pick cotton, okay, if you made, I say, up to about 8 or 10 bales of cotton. We have made up to 8 or 10 bales of cotton. Well, they wouldn't give you nothing until the week before Christmas. And then they said, well, if you had made 2 or 3 more bales, you would have got ahead. You know, you would have got ahead from where you at now.
Did you ever get ahead?
Never got ahead. Don't care how much you made, you never got ahead.
Why?
You stay, cause they taking it all. They got the dollars and gave you the pennies. That's all you ever got. And that's why when I got grown up, I said I can't take no more. I had to leave. Cause you never get no more than what they wanted you to get. What they would give you. They would not give you no more than enough for you to get some, you know, we was living, go up to we used to call it the web store. It fell in your lap, up to the web store. And they would get a roll of material. And then you have to buy so much of that material for the children to get a dress. After I got up, you know. And then they want you have to take so much so you can get so much of this, so much of meat, so much of meal, and so much of flour and sugar like that. And then the rest of it, you didn't have nothing. So they'll give you $25 for the children for Christmas or something like that.
But did you make the clothes for the children?
Well, I made my children clothes. I really did. I really did. When they were small, I made them all. I used to sit down and made them. And you know, people, they used to say they look nice, but I used to make them. I just sit down and just make them myself. God just gave me that strength to make them myself. Sure, I had 4 girls and 2 boys, and I always battled out for them, made them for myself after I got up. Sure did.
Did you think that things were just wrong in America?
Oh, things been wrong, baby, ever since I could open my eyes and look. And I used to ask them all the time, you know, why? But you know, I never been scared, or nothing, or nobody. And I used to, and they, oh, don't you say that? Don't you say that? Why not? If they don't give me nothing, why not? I said, why not? And they want nobody never would stand up and speak, you know, and say a word regards to how they treated you. And
you would stand up?
Oh yes, ma'am.
Tell us about that. Tell us when you stood up for things.
You know, I'll tell you one. You want this on the plantation, right?
Yes.
All right. We was living out. I was at a well place. The well place, they owned everything, but you didn't get nothing. And they would say, you got to go to field. You got to go to field. You can't stay home with them babies. You got to leave your baby and you got to go to field. I said, oh no, I'm not. All right, you don't go. and see what can happen. Nothing ain't gonna happen to me. And I always felt like that. If my baby was ill and I stayed at home because I had to see them, I stayed there with them. But the rest of them would be scared. If I go to field and hoe all day, they'll hold me so fast and leave me a mile behind. And Mr. Henderson, he was a white man. He used to be out over the black people, you know, working. And so we was out there hoeing, and everybody was one lady would stay, hold on with me. And they say, oh, you ain't got, all right, you watch and see when Friday comes and you gonna get paid. I said, oh, I'm gonna get paid. You watch and see. I said, if I don't get paid, you can get everything I own. If you don't give me but $1, you can have it. And he ain't got to take now a penny from me. And so I went on. And so I hold just like he came up to us and looked. And I said, how do that look? Is it horn out? Do it look all right? Is it all right? He said, yeah, it's all right. I said, okay. And they said, all right, you'll see when Saturday come. When Saturday come, they gave me mine $11 just like he gave them theirs. Now penny over. And I said, see, I said, I never been afraid. Never been afraid of nothing. But you know, if I could have got education like I wanted to, I could have did anything I wanted to do. Don't care who it was. But I just could never make it to get none. But it wasn't cause I was scared. Cause when when it was in 65, that was in I was still on the plantation. When they had beautiful, on the plantation now, they had all kind of cows out there. And so they said, you couldn't have a cow. You can't have a cow on the plantation. Nobody had cows. So you can't have a cow on the plantation. I said, why not? So they can say that their cow. I said, they know their cow from one you have. One I have will be mine, and one he have is theirs. And so we stayed there. We stayed there until I left. We had 3 cows, I believe. There were 3 of them. We started off with 3 cows, and we continued to raise them cows right there. And but you believe it, and it was all hundreds and hundreds of people out there. None of them had no cows, and they said, all right, y'all, you keep them cows out there. And Jesse Webb got to the day to say something about those cows. Because those cows stayed right there, right behind the pasture. That was his land too. And we made a pasture right behind the house for the cows. He never said a word. Sure did.
And if you had the cows, what did that do for you?
What
did the cows do for you that was
better? What was so good, mm-hmm. I had milk. I could milk those cows for my baby and give my baby milk and bread and sweet potato. We raised a lot of sweet potato. And I could give them beans, corn, peas, everything. But I milked every morning, milked every evening, and chunked that milk and made that butter. And I had something to feed them with.
Okay.
I really did. They wasn't hungry.
When did you feel that things just had to change?
When I feel like, and you know, I tell you, when I felt like things just had to change. One night, that was in 57, I believe. 57. Had to be in 57. And I said, we could never look like we was going back, was still going forward. And I said, well, something got to break somewhere. So I told my husband, I said, you go up to the store and ask them to fix the house we were living in, to fix it. So he did. He went up there and he did. And I said, now, it's time for us to start moving out. It's time for a break. To get from under them. Because they don't want you to do nothing. But they never would say. The others were scared. Because they wouldn't try. But see, we would try to do anything. Possibly try to make a life for the children, you know, to feed the children, to clothe the children. But they would just do nothing. And you know, and everybody looking at you saying, why they can do it? Why they can do it? We won't. Why won't you try? How y'all do it? Why don't you try to do it? You can do it if you want to do it. You know. And send your children to school. I sent my children to school. They said, you ain't can send your children to school. My children going to school. They going to school. They sure is. Every day they going to school. When school open up, I do the best I can. They might not have what they want, but they have some of what they need, you know, to go to school with. I didn't have nothing, but I sent them to school every day. Sure did.
So
hard.
education
I don't know how I did it, but I know God was fixing it every day.
Education was real important.
It was. God knows. That's why I sent them. I schooled so hard, striving, and I got them all through high school. Every one of them through high school. And some of them went to college. 2 of them, 3 of them went to college. But the others they got managed and they didn't go. The boys, they started off nice, but they dropped out of college too. But it didn't kick off if we didn't try.
What would have happened if you left the plantation? Could you have left the plantation?
Well, if I had, when I phoned in, you know, I didn't think. I was just so hard. I said, I didn't know nowhere to go. We didn't know nowhere to go. And so I said, it's time I can find somewhere to go. I'm going, you know. So we stayed there. We wasn't looking ahead like we should either, because we could have been gone. But I know they was. My husband, he was kind of, you know, he wasn't strong if I wanted him to be. Cause he could move. I tell him, I would fuss at him, but he was slow by moving out. You know, saying I'm gonna go out on my own. I'm gonna get off the plantation.
Did things happen to him that caused him to not want to leave?
Yeah.
That he was afraid of? Did things happen to him that he didn't want to leave the plantation?
Yeah, cause he had been there all of his life.
Okay.
All of his life, and see, he was kind of, he didn't never get to go to school, you know. He really didn't never get to go to school, but about 3 or 4 days, about 2 or 3 weeks out of whole season. Cause when they get through picking cotton, they got to get up all the corn and get the tractor and plow. He drove tractors all the time, and he had to get the tractors. And he started working on tractors. When they weren't working on tractors, they were working somewhere in a shop, doing something on the tractors, you know. And he never did get to go to school at all, just a little bit.
How did you get involved with the civil rights movement?
Oh, Lord. You know what? When Irene Lucy was in Tuscaloosa, going to school, I had a TV that time, and I watched it. And it just did something to me, you know. And I said, so Albert Turner we used to go down, you know, it's a church way down in the woods. So we used to go down in that church and have meeting. He used to have a meeting at that church. Nobody knew we was down there, you know, until 65, until 63. 63. Oh, I can't remember, but I think it was 63 when we came out and started having it, you know, in that church in town, out in the city, you know. So we came to Mary Zion. There was a church in Mary by the name of Zion, and we started coming up there having meetings. But we had came out the woods. There was so much happening, and we came out and we came back to the church, and we started having meetings. And that was a scary time. Now that was a scary time, honey. It was in 65. It was in 63 when we really were, you know, just have a little small meeting. We weren't having big meetings because people were scared, you know. They wouldn't come out to the meeting. So it was about 10 or 15 of us And we would come and have that meeting, and we would talk about, he would talk about things, what would happen, what we were going to do, and we was try to do better. And so we went to meeting every night for a while. And then we started meeting. When we started getting it, coming to town, we started meeting Sunday night, Wednesday night, or Friday night, something like that. But what really, and I just always want to be a part of doing what I can for anybody. And down through the years, everybody, it was 3 families, I believe, and we said we were going to do something for the schools. So we got up on the street in Marion, and we stood there 13 months. 13 months, we stood on that street. My 4 girls and myself, we started off with it was about 3 families. I believe it was Spencer whole family. Just a family. Who else family? And it was a few out of family. It was about 12. We started off about 12 or 13 of us, and then it just boiled down. But I wasn't scared. Right there in Marion, right now. And we closed down. We closed down every store but 2. It was a drugstore, College City Drug. I don't know what they did, boy. We couldn't close them people down for nothing. And Nathan Harris. We stood there. We hold signs day and night. Till night come, we would sit there all day sometimes. And in school, the teachers that we was trying to get school straightened out. They would have the children with their hands behind them, walking down the stairway. And we thought that was so sad. They couldn't touch nothing. That was when they built a new school in Marion. They got it named by Albert Elementary now, but it was Marion Elementary. And it was a nice school, but wasn't no black children hardly there, but just a few, you know. And so we tried to get it straightened out, but we worked real hard. But when it first started integrating this school, it was my little niece, my nephew, and Reverend Langton's son. It was a guy by Reverend Langton, his son, and they was the first children to go to the school.
The first African American children?
Hmm.
The first white children?
The first black children.
The first black children. Okay.
To go to that school, and they did everything to them. They beat them every day, and it was so sad, Jesus. It was so sad. That was the saddest part of your life. But they still get up that next morning. They'll go back to school. They'll get whooped today, they beat them today, they fight it every day. Every day they had to fight to go to that school.
They had to fight other children?
Other children, that's right. Other children. White children now. They were just, it was all white school. And we was trying to get it integrated, you know, so the black children could go have a school to go to too. And it was so hard. But they finally get it broke down. But we stood on the street for them to let them go to school. We marched, and everybody left off the street. But my 4 girls, and my 2 sons, and who? My husband. I forgot. I'm thinking about my husband and myself, and then the children. And we was the last one on the street, left on the street. And they took and fired him from his job. Then we had nothing. Didn't give him a job. So, but the Lord took care of us.
He was fired because he was in the marches?
That's right. Fired because he was standing on the street with us. We was marching to try to get to school for the teachers to treat the children right, you know. Let them go to school.
Were you successful? Was it successful?
Yeah, it was. God knows it was. It was a long time, but it came. Called the principal and some teachers, and we put their name on signboard and we hold them sign day after day after day, after month after month after month after month. And they finally left.
Okay, sure did. Let's talk a little bit about the Selma March. Were you involved with that march?
I was involved in Selma that morning. That morning when I had been in, I had never missed a march. But that morning my baby was sick. That morning they marched to Selma, but when we marched to Montgomery, he was all right. We marched on Montgomery, but we planned it all that Saturday night, and then that Sunday morning he was sick. I had to take him to the doctor. Sure did. And I missed that march from Selma. I missed that march that Sunday. The only march I ever missed.
Was that Bloody Sunday?
No, that was Blood Sunday. Okay. That's when they did so bad. Sure did.
Okay. When you marched from Selma to Montgomery, tell us about that.
Oh, we marched from Selma to Montgomery. Okay, we marched all the way from Selma to Montgomery. It was tough. It was tough. But they didn't that time when we marched, they didn't do nothing. It was nice. They would just marched all day long. But it wasn't that. But the Sunday before that, they killed them. But they.
Okay. Were there people that were hurt or injured in any of the marches? Can you?
Oh, my husband. Yeah, my husband. They bust his head.
When was that? Which march was that?
That was the march. Now, this was the march when they bust him in the head and carried him to jail. Was
that in Perry or in Selma?
That was in Perry.
Okay, tell us about that.
All right. We was marching. Oh yeah, we got broke down that night. We was marching from the church to the jail. James Orange, you might know.
James Orange?
That's right. Okay. They had put him in jail. And we're going to march up there and sing around the jail to him, for him to let him go. And we came out, just we opened the door of the church. They cut off every light. What dog. And they just beat us down that night, just beat them down. And we couldn't see nothing. Wasn't nothing, everything was dark. Just had blanked out everything. And so that was the night. That was the night when Jimmy Lee got killed. That was one of the bad nights. But we was marching up there that night when Veselee Jackson got killed. And that's when they beat us down so that night.
What did they beat you with?
Well, with everything. With the mobility club. And they jobbed me with everything. You couldn't even see. And the lady was, but you know, God been good. The lady was right by me. She was pregnant too. And they jobbed her. She lost her baby. They just beat her. Oh, but they didn't care who they were hitting. They knocking everybody down. Sure was.
So were you hurt during that?
Well, I really didn't get hurt. But I was standing right by, and I really didn't get hurt.
Did your husband get hurt?
Yeah, my husband got hurt. Now they knocked him side of the head, up there side of the head. That scar still up there.
Did he have to go to the hospital?
He had to go to the hospital. Sure, they let him came back home, but they cleaned it and everything.
So what happened with the people once? Did everybody know that Veselee Jackson was killed then? Did they know that?
They didn't know nothing about it, because we was getting in the car. We heard a shot. So, oh my God, somebody got shot. And but we didn't know about it. We didn't know about who was shot until the next morning. We got up early that next morning. I was living on the plantation too. And we got up early that next morning, came to Mary. And they said, Veselee got shot last night. He in the hospital. And all of them got beaten. A lot of people got beaten, we know. Coming from work, they beat them down, broke their arms, and did everything. And so, but Veselee didn't never get up. They beat him.
Did that scare everybody? Did they stop marching after that?
No, we didn't stop. The next morning at 7 o'clock, we were back on the street. At 7 o'clock, we met at Zion Church. Everybody met right there, and they start marching right then. At 7 o'clock the next morning. The next night, we marched. Sure did. We marched every night until James Orange got out of jail. And then we marched in that day.
Okay.
Children.
Was that the same march?
That's the same march.
Okay, let's talk about that. Okay. There were lots of marches, but that march that your husband...
That's
yes,
right.
talk about that.
All right. We all was marching. What that was?
All right. The march about the children and your husband.
Okay.
Okay, we'll start.
Start now? Okay. The march, they start marching. We was marching. And they just stopped and got all the children. All the children were marching. The children was marching they just got out of school and started marching. And then they just took the buses and put all the children on the buses. Everybody children. And carried them every which way. Bibb County, Selma, Uniontown, what is Bibb County and Selma. And somewhere else they carried a load of children. But they carried those children everywhere. There were so many of them. And they carried them everywhere. And so they just beat them.
They beat the children.
They beat the children. And my husband, I was down there, but they got them before they got to us. And they got him and bust his head on. And then they just all of them just beat those children. They didn't care what they did to them. Just took them and slung them up in the buses and just load the buses up. Just they didn't let them sit on the seat. Just throw them up and just push them all up in the bus in any way they could push them. And just fill them up and carry them every which way. People was going every which way trying to find their babies. Sure was.
How old were the children?
The children they got from the 7th grade. It was from the 7th grade on up. From the 7th grade on up. And because the little small children were under them, they stayed. They didn't get them, but from 7th grade on up to 12th, they got every one of them.
Did people fight back? Did the children fight back? Did the adults fight back?
No, they didn't fight. They didn't even fight them. They didn't even fight the people. They got the old baby, and they just let them, got the baby and put them on there. Just pile them up on the bus. And we had a pastor by the name of Reverend Johnson. He got on one bus loaded with them and went with them, but they carried a lot of them while he went with them at. He put a lot of children off there. 2 or 3 buses, they dropped them off there.
Where did they take the children?
They took them to Bibb County.
Is that a jail?
Up there to a jail, and Bibb County to a jail. Then they took them to Selma, fill up all the jails down Selma with them. Sure did.
Were you worried that they were going to hurt them and kill them maybe even?
Did people think that the children were going to be killed?
Oh, yes, Lord. They was up all night long, honey. All down there. People didn't go to sleep all night. They were there all day the next day. People didn't leave the children. They were in different places. So and some of them didn't know where they were.
How long did they keep the children in jail?
They kept them there 2 days.
Did they feed them?
They fed them. They said they fed them. The children are eating. But see, couldn't nobody go in and see what they were feeding them. That was the bad thing. They don't know what they fed them or how they fed them.
And so, how did the parents get them out?
Well, they had to get somebody to barn them out. They had to go to barn, They had to sign for the children to get out. Sure did. Every parent had to sign for their children to get out.
Okay. Now, that was before the Selma March.
That was before the Selma March.
Okay. The Selma March, you went all the way to Montgomery.
That's right.
And you made it safely there.
That made it safely there.
Okay. Tell us about coming back from Montgomery.
Well, when we coming back from Montgomery, they didn't, the troopers, all of them, they was guiding us all the way down there, all the way back, but because they were scared. That's why they did. They wasn't. We had guards, all with motorcycles, all the way back, all the way down and all the way back. In the car, them what was walking, some walked so far back, and some rode so far back. but they was right there.
Did everyone get back safely?
Everyone got back safe. Everyone got back safe. Sure did.
What was life like when you returned to Perry after the march to Montgomery? Was life better?
Oh no, honey, life was worse. Life was worse then when you got back home, cause they wouldn't let you couldn't. You used to go in the stores and get what you want and stuff. They wouldn't let you, couldn't do nothing.
So it was worse. So they
it
stopped.
was worse then.
When did it get better?
When it got better, it was oh Lord, it was way down through the year before it got better. Cause it was worse. Cause they would try anything, They would do you any kind of way. You'd be scared to go, if you want a bunch of you together.
Did you always stay together as a group?
We always stayed together as a group. Sure did.
What would happen if you didn't?
Oh, 'cause they would take they would bust your brains out. They didn't care. They didn't care who they hurt or who they hit. They just hidden. Sure did.
Did you ever think life was going to get better?
Well, I didn't. I ain't thought life would never get better. I thought it getting worse and worse and worse. And and for a while, it looked like it did get worse and worse and worse, And down through the years, just line up, and then it got worse because you didn't have nothing. They got all your job, took the job from you, You didn't have no job to go to. We didn't have no jobs. They find everybody. One or two people had jobs. One or two black people had jobs. Well, it wasn't enough to have jobs to help, So they got all the jobs, fired everybody. That's right.
What would be your message to people today, the African American community today, to the world today, of that struggle, that fight for freedom? What would be your message to people today?
I would say today, fight, that struggle, it was worth fighting for. It was worth dying for. Cause it got better. It got better. It made things better, but things got back in the same old rut you're about, but it got better. And I would tell anybody, fight, stand up and fight. I don't care who you are. Fight for whatever is right.
Do you think we should still fight in a nonviolent way?
I still think so. I think fighting in a nonviolent way is good.
Why?
Because I don't think fighting and hurting people, it ain't our help. It's just somebody gone, and then somebody gone on this side and somebody gone on that side. That's two somebody's gone, two persons gone. And I think nonviolent is the best way.
Would you do it all over again?
I'd do it all over again, honey. God knows I'd do it all over again. Now that's the truth. I don't care, regardless of what it is, I'd do it all over again. But I done got old now, but still I tried, I was young then, and I didn't mind doing nothing. We did everything. And you know what? We did everything. Now I want you to know that we did everything, anything. And we never get nothing out of it. Never got a job, never got nothing out of it. Hard as we worked, we never got nothing out of it. And then the one got a job, they never put their feet and never put their hand to do nothing. But they got all the good jobs. Now that's the truth, all the good jobs.
Do you think you made a difference?
I know I did. And you can ask anybody in Perry County, I know I did. That's the truth. Because now I don't care who he is, they'll tell you that Jackson did it. They ain't scared of nobody. And they did everything to help. And I wasn't doing it for myself. I was doing it for anybody, white and black. Because it made a difference in their life too. And I do it all over again. When we was on the street, I didn't do it for myself and my family. I did it for anybody. A better life. And where you could love better. And you could walk together and love together. And I do it all over again. Now that's the truth. If I could, I'd do it all over again.
Do you think people love each other the same way today?
Love each other.
Today. Do you think people love each other like that today?
I don't think so. I really don't. I really don't, because people done got so wicked now. People don't care for nothing now. They don't care for themselves and nobody else. So people used to love each other. No, people didn't used to hate. People loved each other. And they would do anything for each other. Black and white. You know, kept them in it. You love them all, you know. If you got God in your life, his face look just like mine. For love, you know, just love them. You can love them anyway.
So there were people that were white that were good to you as well.
What's that?
Everybody white wasn't
Bad, honey. They was good. There's some good white people, just like some good black people. And there's some bad black people, just like some bad white people. And God loves us one and all. And we just gotta love each other. Because he loves us one and all. Now that's the truth. He ain't got no special love. He ain't got no special color. He made us all. And he loves us all. And I look for that. I tell them all the time, if all black people was bad, God would destroy us, wouldn't he? And if all white people were bad, he'd destroy them. But he loves us one and all, giving us all a chance to make it in life. Sure did.
Okay. We thank you for your courage. We thank you for the
Right.
legacy you left for us.
Bless your heart. I got too old. I can't remember nothing. I got
Thank
too
you. You
old.
did wonderful.
Let's get that. How you have people register voters?
Oh, honey, we used to go. Honest for God, I'm gonna tell y'all nothing wrong. We used to go up when the sun rise. We would go and get loads of people, bring them to vote, bring them down in the courthouse to vote, and then every car could hold people. We had cars, go and get them.
Where did you get the people and
From-
where was it?
From home, go to their house and get them.
And where
And
did
some
you
of them scared to come, but then you go there, sit down and talk with them, tell them how important it was that they go vote. Go get registered, honey, go get registered. And we registered, oh God, about 1,000, God knows we did.
And where did you take them to vote?
Down to the courthouse. We took them in the courthouse. It was the place you had to go downstairs on the courthouse to get them ready, and we carried them down and stand with them. You had to stay with them because they were scared, you know. They were scared to get ready. When you had to stay with them.
Did they have to take a test?
They had to, oh yeah, for that they had to take that a writing test on it. And God knows that thing was so hard they couldn't even. Every time they fill them out wrong. And then we marched about it was so wrong we had to fill out those papers and didn't know how to fill them out. We didn't know how to fill out those papers. And then they passed the law, you know, where you just go in and get ready to vote. They just ask you questions, you know. And that's the only way we got to vote. They never, in the beginning, they had all those papers, a stack of papers. You had to go through and fill out all those papers to try to vote. That's right, to try to vote. Sure did. Fill out stacks of paper. And then never get through with them.
Are there any other stories you remember that you want to share with us? There's so many stories that you have, but is there one more story that just sits in your mind about the civil rights movement that you want to make sure that we hear?
Oh, Jesus, let me see. Now, they said they were state troopers, but they really weren't state troopers. They really weren't. They were the plain people at home. They had on clothes, you know. And when you get clothes to them, they was turning back while you make sure you didn't know them. Now that's the truth. And then when we used to be marched, when we was coming to meeting, and I used to bring my children, I used to give them, put something and all of them hang at night. We'd be going home and said they gonna stop her. We know they gonna stop her. And so y'all have something. We have something in the car to fight with. But every time they just been to stop somebody head or to stop somebody right behind us or something like that. They never stopped us.
Oh, that's
God knows they never stopped us. But we used to be prepared for it, sure did. Had to go way, we had to go way out, by ourselves. Nobody traveling. So we had to go out by ourselves.
You was the only somebody who come to the meeting?
From the plantation, I only black somebody there from the plantation. And we went every night. Every meeting we went every night. And nobody never bothered nobody else. And hundreds of them was out there. But they never went to a meeting. Sure didn't.
What would have happened to them if they went to a meeting? What
What-
would have happened to them if they went to the meeting?
Oh, they know they had to go. And when everyone went, they had to leave the plantation. Down through the year when everything was smoothing out, they had to leave the plantation. That's why everybody left. Oh God, it was so many left the plantation and went up north, went different places. Cause I had a first cousin. He went to a meeting. Just went one meeting now. Just when they had on a Sunday night, all of them went to meet. And then all of them gone, had to go. He told me he had to have his house. They had to go. Well, they had anywhere to go or not. They had to go if they went to a meeting. Sure did. But I went to a meeting, I went to every meeting.
And they never quit.
I went to every meeting. And they never said a word. We went to every meeting. That's the truth.
Thank you so much.
Bless your heart.
Thank you.
Bless your heart, darling. Sure did.
Thank you for the interview and what you did.
Bless your heart. Thanks a million. But I done got over. I can't remember nothing now. Y'all, I
Well,
couldn't
you
remember.
did good.
It'll come back by and by. I can't remember nothing.
You did
Oh,
good.
those lights flashing in your face.